Start to like pay attention to your exhale, what it does. Keep practicing like how to let go of your mind's grip. I mean, one of the things that I think is both good and bad about, mostly good though, is that if you can start connecting your mental content and especially your exhalation to letting go of the things that are on your mind. Because remember, like you're trying to start from neutral when you're starting a yoga class. So like the thing is everyone hurries up to get to a class. So you're already kind of not in neutral. But like for me, beginning to recognize that neutral's a mind body sensation, not just an empty mind, right? Starting to recognize what it is when I'm set the preconditions for relief, right? Because for a lot of us, I want relief to become an active sensation that you, not just a default sensation or not just something you achieve once in a while, or it's something that there's a level of relief that's always here. And that's not physical for a lot of us, right? For sure. Because there's chronic pain, but like, no, there's another level where you don't have to disappear, but you don't have to be in charge of everything. It's like, and that's a mind body sensation. So like when I say pay attention to your exhale, I'm actually, that's code word for find the place of quiet that you can feel throughout your body, that you can feel to include your body. Your mind has to ungrip around the edges. So I've been talking for the last couple months about the brain being more passive. And one of the ways we know about this, that exhalation helps you into the parasympathetic aspects of your nervous system, that brings a homogeneous homeostasis, like a calmer state. And so exhalation is one of the first doorways. So now soften your jaw on the inside of your mouth and the skin on your face. Right? So again, the organs of perception, where your brain, and especially the eyes, right? You have to look at a screen, but in the centering part, you don't really have to see that much. So you're trying to get it, like your brain literally reaches for the world, right? And then your mind takes over there. So you're trying to get, no, you're gonna soften the skin around on the forehead, relax the temples, the jaw, the inside of your mouth, relax your belly to relax your throat. So a more spacious, quiet sensation starts to become more in focus, where focus is not coming from judgment, but from your mind-body experience. So your breath wants to be in sync with the emptiness. So you're feeling the breath with the space you can't quite feel, but you know exists within. And then asana starts to bring more of an action. So feel your feet more securely on the floor, your sitting bones underneath you. But try to keep the awareness of the whole body from that place that's quieter. Lift the chest, broaden across the collarbones. Let the inhalation follow. So, and the exhalation bringing you even more upright because you're exhaling from the back ribs as if they're coming forward. So you're bringing a quality of alertness to your torso, to your spine, still softening the jaw of the inside of the mouth, balancing your head over your neck. Feeling your sitting bones extending from the inner groin to the inner knee down to the inner heel. More clarity. Action is an opportunity for clarity if you don't overdo it. Re-soften the organs of perception. Make sure you're integrated with the whole room, but from a sense of base. Your feet, your sitting bones, balancing your head over your neck. Close your eyes from top to bottom if you haven't. Stay alert, stay empty, stay full. Let go of your day and prepare your mind to do yoga. Good, and then release. Take your sternum up towards your chin down over your sternum. One of the things that asana teaches you to do is you can keep your body alert even when your mind starts to wane, right? And that's one of the functions of asana. So this changes the sensations in your rib cage and in your spine. So you're hopefully breathing through the nose. Good. And then raise your head up with closed eyes, open your eyes. So I want you to lift up again. So again, one of the things that you're trying to learn in yoga is how to make the quieter, the sense of space be part of your movement. So getting space in your low back. That's why often a lot of classes start with like a gentle twist, right? So take your left hand outside your right leg and other hand behind you, but make it gentle. We're just trying to get more action and movement in the spine, especially when you're first warming up. You are not trying to go very far. You are trying to just get that sense that there's multiple directions that are potential for your spine, right? And then come back to center and be in the center and then go the other way. So you're going to go like and twist just gently the other way. You're just trying to go, wait, my spine gets to wake up a little bit. Inhale, lift up, exhale, revolve. So not a big thing. We're just doing this thing about waking up, and then now come back to center and be in the center and lift up. Remember, I'm like in this traction because I can tell how much my low back is compressing lately. So I'm wanting to take some weight off, let the weight of my body, let my sitting bones hang. So I get a little bit extra space in my low back, because space matters. Space, if my mind cannot judge it, space is what sets the mind free, right? The perception, the sensation of space in a pose, right? So again, I'm trying to get your low back to feel a little bit more space, but it has a purpose. And then as you set yourself back down, don't collapse as far. Try to support some of that space in your low back, and then take your left hand outside your right leg again, and now twist a little bit differently, and you try to utilize that sense of lightness or space that just comes from letting your back be in traction a little bit, and then come on back to center and be in the center, and then go the other way. So we're using like this really gentle twist as a touchstone, as a way to measure changes, and then come on back to center. And so now I want you to come forward. So this idea of space in your low back, I'm going to lean on my table here, but like I could do it on my thighs too. I want to get this length in my back. So I'm hitting down through my sitting bones and I'm lifting my chest, but I'm really thinking about how to broaden across my sacrum and make a sense of space in my low back. Right? So now it's getting more active, because especially when you sit a lot, there's a dullness, and then come back, right, and lift up. There's a dullness that you don't even realize that sets in between your legs and your low back. We're trying to wake that up. So lift your chest again, but now lift it with that space, a sense of greater space in your low back. So the feeling of not pressing down through your sitting bones and lifting up through your chest actually has slightly more, I'm going to call it freedom in it, but it's because it's got space. And then lean forward again and get that length again. And now make it even more physical, right? Where you're doing things like I have to de-rotate my rib cage and hit down with my sitting bones and lift up to my chest. And I'm really trying to make that more active. If you're sitting on the floor, you just lean forward and do this. You use a forward bend, right? And so now as I'm leaning forward here, I want to take a couple of breaths and see if I can get my inhalation to make any more space in my low back, right? So that the expansion of the inhalation in every direction. And then as you exhale, I want you to push down more through your sitting bones and lift more into your collarbones. So you're using your breath to try to make more space. And then you go back up again. I want you to lift up and use traction, right? And then set yourself back down and try to keep some of that space. Take your left hand outside your right leg. And then again, we're not really twisting very far. We're just trying to wake up that spine. So I'm going to come back and drop the twist. And I'm going to lift it up again and bring it in and then drop it. Now I'm going to make sure I push as I'm twisting to the right. I'm going to make sure I'm grounding through my feet, especially my left foot, as I push up and lift into the twist, trying to move the space in me, not just my physical body, and then go back to center and feel in the center again. But now I'm going to lift up, trying to find that space in my back, set it back down, go and take the right hand outside the left leg, right? And I'm going to try to keep that length in my low back. Inhale, lift up, exhale, revolve. Enhance the lift by pressing down through your right sitting bone and right foot. Lift up under the collarbones and get that sense of space as you twist a little bit. And then release. Come forward again. I'm just putting my forearms on my legs because I want that space in my back. And again, I want you to breathe into the forward bend, right? So you're forward and there's just a chance for more length in your back. And making length in your back start to help you lift your sternum, right? So instead of just lifting your sternum, ground the sitting bones, feel the space in your back, and slowly bring that up through the center of the sternum. Take a couple of breaths. Again, using the breath to kind of spread in every direction the energy of your low back. Good, and then come on back up. Now this sense of more movement. So now you've got this space in your back. I want you to, well, a lot of people have a camera off today. I wonder must be parties going on in everyone's house, right? Okay, so I want you to like lift up and bring the left knee forward and then back. And then switch your hands and do it the other way, right? And then back. So now we're trying to make there be a rhythm to this and then back. So you're getting both the space and the lift, and you're trying to move and get your pelvis being differentiated. So one knee's coming forward, one knee's coming back. So you're just feeling that difference in your pelvis, right? And then back up over your chair. And then forward. And then back up over your chair. Right. And then forward. So we're just trying to, and you're trying to move with that sense of space. So I'm just going back and forth, but I'm trying to add some rhythm to the movement, right? So I'm going back and forth and trying to literally wake up for a Monday, get my body to start having more dimension, for my mind to be more free, right? You're going to find, and then come back to center. You're going to find on days that you're the most stressed out, your body doesn't have a sense of space in it, right? Your mind, it's gripped down into a lump and your mind's trying to deal with it. So then take your left hand outside your right leg again and try to keep that sense of freedom, and then back, and then go the other way. So we're just trying to do it a little faster, right? And then go back the other way. So we're just trying to use a sense of movement, right? Good. And then be in the center again. Balance your head over your neck. Bring alertness to your spine. So start the more like the centering energy, right? Start feeling. Bringing that sense of alertness. Good. And then back over the back of your chair again. And if you don't want to take your head back, don't, right? Don't make yourself dizzy. But I want you to feel what it feels like to have your chest spread open, right? And then come back to the midline. And then do it again, up and over the back of your chair. And then come forward again, right? And now I want you to, this next time, I want you to feel when this part of your chest is more projected into the room. Feel what your breath feels like. Don't take a deep breath. So I'm inhaling here. I'm exhaling, dropping. My shoulder blades are broadening my chest on the exhalation. I don't want to rip a big breath because that'll be hard on my body, right? And then come on back in the center. And so I just want you to contrast the feeling of the breath when you're in a slight back bend to the breath you get when you lift your chest and drop your chin. Right? So the difference between having your eyes open and taking in the world and the chest taking in the world to it being more lift the chest, but you're dropping inward. There's a big difference in the sensation of your breath. So you're just noticing that and then releasing, lifting your head and going back and being gentle. Not a big back bend, and just feel the difference. Right? Good. And then I want you to take your arms behind you. Grab the back of your chair, grab something and just take some time. So I want you to like be on each side, take some time to try to open this space, right? Like I'm drawing a line from the center of my sternum out to each shoulder with my arms behind me. If you can interlock your hands behind you, that'd be great. I'm just grabbing the back of my wheelchair behind my back, right? I'm just taking some time to get this open. Here's open, here's closed, right? But so I can't see myself very well. I'm gonna come in a little closer. So I'm just trying to open this up, kind of pin my shoulder blades. But what's curious is I don't just want to bring my shoulder blades together. I want to both bring them together. So here's them not together, but also keep them spreading apart and hitting down. So they are coming closer together, but I'm not just going with that energy only. I'm actually keeping clarity between the shoulder blades, dropping the shoulder blades down as much as I'm pinching them together. And then release. And then feel it again. Now, when I do that, I start to feel my inhalation hit my sides of my rib cage differently. Right? And then I'm going to release. And again, for me, when I do that, when I let my shoulders roll forward like you do most of the day, the breath actually isn't as noticeable and equal in my rib cage. So I open again, bring more clarity to my spine, to both sides of my rib cage. I want to try to feel the breath hit each side of my rib cage. Good, and then release, drop down again, right? Now feel the difference between that kind of breath and going back and up over your wheelchair or your chair and opening your chest. And then release, take your arms behind you again. So this is a very different breath than when you're doing a kind of a back bend, right? But when you lift your sternum here, this is a partial back bend, right? This lift of the chest. Now drop your chin down. And feel when this gets lifted and the chin gets dropped, but now your arms are behind you. We're approaching shoulder stand now, right? And you're just taking a breath. So this is the queen of all yoga poses. It's interesting for you to start to wonder why. What's happening here to your consciousness? Why would it be integral? Good, and then release again. And notice the great big difference between that and going slightly back over your chin. Right? Don't do too much of the back bend. This is not, we're contrasting the way the breath feels, the way the grounding feels, more than we're doing a back bend. And then take your arms behind you again. Now here, really practice dropping the shoulder blades, lifting the sternum, dropping the chin. So that's more inward. Keep that and start to look up with your eyes. Good, and then release. Take your chin back down. Raise the chin up. Good, and then release. So now, there's a big difference, and you usually don't do a lot of these together, but there's a big qualitative difference between different kinds of back bends. So the one where we're kind of going back over the back of the chair, right, up and over like this. Feel that. You keep your chin forward if you want, whatever you need. Right. And then there's that kind of back bend. Now I want you to come forward. I'm putting my forearms, right? So now, right, I'm like right now, my forearms are against my legs and I've got my hands together. I want to make more attention. You can either have your hands in prayer or I've got them folded a little bit like I'd be doing headstand, right? And I want you to feel, now start to lift your chest. So we're a lot closer to upward facing dog. Okay, so this is a different kind of back bend, right? And now you try to spread the hood of the chest, right? So now you have to get more grounded. Your arms aren't out at your sides as much, right? You have to lift under the collarbones, open the hood of the chest. Now look up, like to make a little bit slightly more space between your sternum and your chin. As you do, drop the skin down the shoulder blades, down the back body. As you do that, feel your sitting bones and the pressure of your forearms against your thighs. Good, and then release, unbend. So what I want you to get, in upward facing dog, which is a really big back bend, but they're considered small back bends, right? The breathing is more similar to shoulder stand. Okay, so it's a different kind of breath, right? And I want you to keep in your mind this, I don't have to do this right now. This action is the queen of all yoga poses. Okay, so you're forward here and you're lifting the hood of your chest, you're keeping the shoulder blades down, right? But what's interesting so now I want you to keep your chin down when you're forward like this, because the forwardness is going to make you be more grounded and slightly more inward. Now slowly raise your head, but start from the center of your chest. Keep the sense of grounding. Don't worry about tipping your head too far back. And now go back to dropping the chin and finding, right? And then release, finding this. Now come back up. Take your arms behind you, lift your chest and drop your chin. So one of the things I'm trying to get across to you, loosely speaking, is that even in upward facing dog or cobra pose, right, there's a little bit of shoulder stand, right? So you're breathing here with your chin down. Now coming forward again, lifting the chest, dropping the chin, and watching the change in your breath. So this kind of more grounded energy starts to get transformed into more overt back bend by lifting your chin up and dropping the shoulder blades and lengthening your back. Good, and then release. So we're gonna do that one more time, but I want you to know we're also gonna start doing the other kind of more open back bend. And I want you to notice how what we're doing here and what's more of like an upward facing dog is more, it's like a back bend that's happening in a smaller space. It's the difference between, if you have flowing water through a big pipe and then you make the pipe smaller, the flow is gonna have more pressure in it because it's in a smaller space. That's part of what's happening in this back bend. Lean forward again, right? Lift the chest. Drop the chin first to show you the strength of the core of the flow of the water in the pipe. It's coming from something more similar to shoulder stand. then start to lift your chest and open it to the world. But it's like you're turning underground water to the world, right? It's not sunshine water. It's water. It's not water that's on the surface. It's water that's deeper. Good. And then release. Come back into center. So like there's, especially when you and I are able to do less of the whole pose, you and I have to get better at noticing differences in the subtlety, and the sense of space is one of them. So now just like that, what we just did, where you're more like forcing or having to move through a tighter space into this back bend, now just gently go back up and over the chair and notice how much more spacious this back bend is, right? It's it's more open. But on another level, it's also less grounded, right? Good, and then release. So it's curious to me. I don't want you to be overworking your back, right? It's curious to me, like the kind of well, it'd be Asana, but it'd be some other back bends. The ones that are more like expansive and open, right, are the ones that supposedly are better for depression. However, they're also more ungrounding, right? So they kind of create kind of a humming agitation in your, if you overdo them, right? Whereas a back bend that comes forward or has more connection to the ground, like come forward, I've got my forearms, my bones of my forearms against the bones near my thighs, near my knees, like thinking that matters. Got my hands clenched together, and now I'm going to use this to open my chest and back bend. It's coming from much more grounding energy. Doesn't make it better, it makes it different. And then release. Come back, contrast it. Don't do this back bend very hard. Up and over the chair. Uncoil. So now the thing about back bending in a chair, if you do it too much, it can irritate your low back. So that's where you want to like reclaim the space. So lean forward onto a table or onto your, so this is like where we'd be doing, like if this were a traditional class, it would be downward facing dog. Because we'd want to make sure that the space you've been back bending in, right, that it's been like working in there, and you're trying to take some time to make space be across both sides of your low back. So you're using your breath, the inhalation and the exhalation, try to equally put them on each side of your mid to low back. So you're re-inflating. So the muscles that maybe have been overgripped and overworked when you were back bending, you didn't know it, are actually getting elongated again. And the breath is trying to be like a touch, not in one direction or another, but into like just getting it to expand. Good. And then back up, lift up, let there be that traction. So supposedly, and it's true, twists are something you want to do after back bends. So take your left arm outside. We're not done doing back bends yet, but I'm just going to show you like what you're trying to do, like in a way after you've been back bending back and forth, right? You start to twist it, trying to make sure that your spine doesn't get locked into one pattern. So you're introducing a different pattern, a twist. Rather than just going for length and back bend, you're actually introducing a different directional movement as a form of taking care of yourself. right? And taking care of your back. And then come on back to center, right? So after you've been doing something, the reintroduction of a sense of space and freedom is what you do after you've been working hard in a pose. And ultimately, that's what Shavasana is. And a reintroduction of space and freedom without your mind's presence. So go the other way. And again, you're introducing, instead of just the back bending energy, you're introducing the twisting dynamic to make sure that your spine doesn't get locked into one or two patterns. Good, and then come on back to center, right? So this time we're gonna twist one more time. And again, to show you how these are all interconnected and intersectional, right? Go the first way. So now we're gonna do, I don't want you to crank this, but I want you to notice the back bending pattern that's in a twist. Okay, so we've just been twisting the spine, but as I lift my chest and lift under the collarbones, right? My spine is coming more alert and my shoulders are rolling back, right? It's coming into a back bending pattern in my upper thoracic, right? Inhale, lift up, exhale, revolve. And then come on back to center. And again, I don't want you cranking these because we're looking for the way that these poses flow amongst each other, right? That you're always at core doing something similar, regardless of the type of pose it is, right? And so now you're going the other way and finding the kind of, as you lift the chest and roll the shoulders back, that back bending energy. Inhale, lift up, exhale, revolve. Good, and then come on back to center and be in the center. And so I'm lifting up again because right away after a twist, everybody tends to compress after a twist, right? So I naturally reposition myself to get that sense. So one of the ways that if you're trying to develop a practice at home, one of the ways you can do that is to continually be checking in to what your body's asking for in response to what it just was doing. So instead of your practice having to be, well, if I do this, I need to do this, this, and this, more intellectual, you should practice sometimes where the practice is led by your intuition, by your feeling of what your body needs and what it wants, right? And that's a really good way to practice, but it's hard because you always judge yourself. Your mind goes, what? I don't know what to do next. Well, that's part of the yoga. Listen to your body. So I'm sitting up and lifting the chest. We're going to do more back bends again. But I want you to find symmetry now, because I know, like when I go back over and do the bigger back bend, right, I work one side of my spine differently than the other. So I'm trying to, before I start, I'm trying to feel both my feet on the floor, both my sitting bones, both sides of my sternum, both sides of the empty space between my ear and my shoulders. And I'm trying to make them be symmetrical. Because once I start to exert, I'm going to go off balance. So I'm breathing into the symmetrical pattern on each side of my body. And as much as you can, in the back bend that goes up and over the chair, you're wanting a symmetrical pattern of body awareness to be what's back bending. So now as you hit back into your chair, put both hands on your thighs, one hand on each thigh. Feel both heels on the floor. Symmetrically come up and over. So I've got one side of my back that hits my chair because of my scoliosis faster than the other. But I'm trying to keep the sense of each foot, each knee, each thigh, each side of my chest coming up and over the chair. And then I try to open the hood of the chest. And then I make more distance between, if you're taking your head back, from your sternum to your chin. But once you're there, when I did this last part of exertion, I took presence away from this side of my body, I can tell. So I'm not trying to come as far back in this twist as I want to make sure I'm symmetrically back bending. And then uncoil, come forward, put both forearms on your thighs, right? Again, finding the symmetrical pattern. So the weight of each forearm on each thigh, how the weight is on each foot, the weight is on each sitting bone, each sides of my chest. And now this back bend, whether you call it up dog or cobra, comes more out of the earth, not out of the ether, right? So start to lift your chest. Feel that shoulder stand depth, like the way, so keep your chin dropped for a second and increase the wattage or the flow of the river in less space. Then start to take your head up. On exhalation, drop the shoulder blades down, broaden between the shoulder blades, ground the sitting bones, keep the symmetry. And then uncoil, come back, be in this midpoint for a second, and then go the other way. Again, this is more gentle now. Symmetrical, freer on one level, less grounded on another. And then come forward one vertebrae at a time. Head comes, chest comes, slide forward. Come all the way down closer to the earth. Start to engage upward. Again, I got one shoulder blade firing more than the other. My constant battle for me is, or challenge is some symmetry. Making this pose go deeper and faster, not faster, but more water pressure on the inside. And then here, slowly uncoil. And this would be like cat-cow. Now concave your back. Roll it backwards, right? And now you're gonna go from this position where your spine is slightly bowed back. Be very aware of the transition through neutral into a convex feeling in your upper back. Right? Open, lift under the collarbones. Release, move through to the concave. Now, even more centrally, come through. Watch your spine. Have it come from the grounding of your forearms on your legs through to the outside of the world, outside world. And then again, as you go concave, notice how your eyes go more inward. Everything starts to go more inward. Good, and then come on up. Now contrast that again, don't overdo this with how there isn't that inward stuff as much when you start back bending this way. So there isn't the earth. The earth, you have to like work for the earth, like feel your feet and your sitting bones, but it's not the same inward dimension. Come back up and over. That inward part is here. And then come back to neutral. So one of the things that I'm hinting at is that inward part of smaller back bends is coming from shoulder stand. Take your arms behind you. Lift the sternum. Drop the chin. Now, if I were to release my hands, come forward, keep the chin dropped. Then take this energy more into a back bend. The inward grounded energy, the queen of the yoga poses, starts to turn out as strength into the world. Good. And then release and come on back to center. Again, the big difference when you back bend this way. One's not better than the other. And then as you slowly uncoil, come all the way back to forward. The process of moving inward, ground, engage, lift it back up. Come back. Right? Hit. Go back over. Don't try to hold on to the way it was forward, but know that it was there. Good. And then come on back in the center. So I'm going to sit and practice symmetry and space. So to remind myself that we just did a lot of back bending there, I'm going to lift up again and find that space. I'm going to come forward and activate that space in my back through a forward bend. So I'm trying to reinflate places that I've strained. Right? And I mean strain, worked. It doesn't have to be strain. It doesn't have to be put in terms of like an injury. You're just trying to make sure that you're balancing your own yoga practice. So I'm taking breaths into each side of my rib cage, of my low back. Okay, so this time I want you to, if you have a table, use a table. Otherwise, but I want you to come down even farther. So we're going to all of a sudden combine all of this into a form of a twist. So I'm going to come down. I'm going to put my elbow way down on the table, right? Now, if that meant you went way down on it, kind of forward in your chair and put your, well, let me show you what I would do if I were not using the table. So if I wasn't using the table, I'd bring my hand way down in here, right? So my hand is way down by my ankles and I'm grabbing my ankle, right? So you're going way down here, right? If you're doing it on a table, right, you're way down here. In fact, I kind of like grabbing my ankle better. I think I'm going to go back to the other one. I'll do it this way, right? But what I want, in fact, everyone, I just changed my mind. I like the other one better. I want you to, for what we've just been teaching, what we've been doing, I want you to come way forward and grab down, balance, but grab down and grab your ankle or down on your, but so you're down forward. So now as you're leaning forward like this, don't fall out of your chair. If you need to use a table, use the table, right? This has got more grounded energy in it, right? So when you start to twist here, it's got more of that upward facing dog feel in the twist, right? So you're way forward, you're grounded, and then you start to turn, right? And lift the sternum, and drop the shoulder blades, but that inward energy more, right? That's turning more like shoulder stand. And then release. Got a little deep into that one. I can sit for a second, then I'm gonna go the other way, which is, I'm not gonna be as good at, damn it. All right, so I gotta be more careful here. So I'm farther down, but making sure I'm grounding and feeling the ground and starting to turn and lift my sternum and drop the shoulder blades down and feel that more inward shoulder stand like turn of this twist. Good. And then come on back up. So there are these poses. So we're going to try to combine both of them. Let me hope to God I can find a good picture of it quick. Dang it. I wonder if she teaches revolve triangle here. Come on. So I don't think she teaches appropriate triangle. Oh yeah, okay. Glad I found it right at the end. So this is a standing pose. We're not really quite doing this, but see how she's actually revolved. So there's a twist here, and this upper arm comes up, right? So, and so she's twisted and forward. So what we're gonna do in the thing we just did, see how like far down she is, right? That's how down when we lean way forward in our chair. And what I didn't do was instruct the upper arm, right? Which I don't think I could even do on one of the sides, just so you know. You might be able to, right? And so what I want you to do is to come forward again, way down, right? Get this inside part of the dynamic twist. And then for those of you that want to, can take the arm up, right? But I think more of the yoga is happening in the down and kind of opening the chest and back bending with shoulder stand. And then taking the arm up is kind of like reaching for the sky, like the other type of back bend, right? But if you can't do that, like I know I won't be able to do it on the other side, right? This isn't as important as the core channel coming out of the earth into the twist and then come back up. I'm going to go the other way, come down, but I got to get myself really safe. Conditions of safety must be met for me to even think about taking my arm up. So I'm not going to come down as far. Like I could grab the back of my chair for me rather than opening my arm all the way up to here. I could, that wouldn't be as good a yoga. I'm going to feel this first. So I'm down, I'm grounded, and I'm opening here. And then if I want to, oh, that's bad for me. Take the arm up. I know I just did less yoga right there. So I'm going back to the earth and staying more grounded and like allowing my arm to rise without having it have to physically rise. Good, and then come on. Back to center. Be in the center. Again, right away, plug in into symmetry. Using your exhale, finding homeostasis. Very gently now, take your left hand outside your right arm. Real gentle, in rhythm, without cranking. Inhale, lift up, exhale, revolve. And then release, and then engage again. Inhale, lift up, exhale, revolve. And then come on back. So this is all really gentle because we're right near the end of class. And then go the other way. So you're just trying to visit. Inhale, lift up, exhale, revolve. Gentle. And then release. Re-engage it. Inhale, lift up, exhale, revolve, and watch. There's that back bending part of it. You're being gentle, you're just noticing it. And then come on back to center. And be in the center. And now lengthen your low back again. Now this one, you really want to try to do a good job. So I'm coming forward on the table. But I really want to sit here. And you can have your forearms on your thighs. But I really want you to try to feel each sitting bone, each foot. And really try to feel each side of your low back and your mid back. And take some time to let the breath hit and touch both sides of your low to mid back on your inhalation. So you're reinflating space in your back. When you're twisting, you have to kind of squeeze that space. So it turns out that twisting is supposedly are detoxing because it twists space, right? And like it causes chemical reactions, but they're also supposed to be good for grief because much of your grief lands in the empty spaces of your consciousness. right? And you're trying to bring life in there. But here, you're just trying to re-feel the space that just got twisted. Good. And then back up. Prepare for Shavasana. Whatever that looks like for you. I want to feel supported. I want to feel alert though, while I'm letting go. So that means the alertness can't come from mental judgment. Otherwise, I'm not getting nourished. I have to trust the sensation in the core of my body to have a quality to it, even as I let go. Soften around the temples of the jaw, the inside of the mouth. Feel your breath. Don't change it. Start to bring yourself back. Slightly deeper inhalation. Slightly longer exhalation. When you're ready, open your eyes. And then close them if it was too much. Open them again, but softer. You don't have to meet the hardness of the light with hardness in your eyes. All right. So I'm curious, for those of you that are back, or I can't see a lot of you, so today, that was a fair amount of backbending, and there are different types of backbends. So if you feel like if your low back is a little bit feeling a little tender, then sometime during the day, lay down flat. Maybe even pull your knees into your chest, like on your bed. But I don't always want to warn against the other thing. See if you've got a different kind of energy today too, because backbends energize. So it's weird when you do a lot of backbends, and we didn't do a lot. Like some of the times you are the most tired, but you're not sleepy, right? So like when you do a lot of backbends, you get energized, and even though they were physically demanding, they end up kind of igniting your system in a way that keeps you alert or non-sleepy, right? And so these are just, and again, a little bit of twisting today if they're a little bit sore, but be gentle and just notice if you feel anything different from doing that many backbends, because that's part of the investigation. Like your yoga practice doesn't stop when you finish the class or finish your practice. You're constantly watching different effects and not trying big, huge conclusions, but just noticing, right? All right, everybody. I hope you have a good week. No class next Monday. Hands together. Namaste. The spirit in me bows the spirit in you.